So hey guys, Reaper here, and well, the point of the video is to create like a short demo for Alvu in terms of what it can do and what the point of it is exactly. I mean, like there's 100 static, actually more than 1,000 static site generators at this point. So to start off, all we need for Alvu is a public directory, which is anything. It could be an empty directory for now, and you need a pages directory with a layout HTML, and let's just start with an empty file altogether. So we're just going to move this over here, and to start off all you need is an instance of Alvu installed. You could do this with Goblin, and since I already have it installed, I'm just going to go ahead and type Alvu serve. So that should basically create this folder here, which goes through and creates the index file for you. Right now, as you can see, this just has a WebSocket implementation. This is being done because you have serve in place. If you do not use serve, you will see you get basically just the body. So let's go back to serve, and yeah, it's pretty fast. So the next thing is basically, since it is serving, let's just see if we can get a decent amount of live reload to work. So simple browser needs a fresh instance to start off altogether. So I'm just going to change that to HTTP, and we should now be able to see it hot reload, or live reload to be fair. So you have a basic page ready to already work with. Now on the other hand, it just converts everything that's given into pages as a HTML file, so you have a routing handle for you in a way. So if I was to create something that was supposed to be under writing, so a very simple example is a blog. So writing, and let's say post.md, this is a post. Save this file, come over here, post, and this is under writing and post. So if I just save that, that should appear as a link. Now the problem is that since we've added writing right now, and you can see that dist doesn't really have that, we just want to start again because you're adding a new file, and to avoid overusage of file notifiers, I am not handling new additions right now. This will be added once I have a better way to do it, but for now it's just that. So as you can see, we just have writing and post.html, and this already works for you. So at the end of the day, it's just static HTML. There's nothing special over here. Now what makes it different is the ability to be able to add build time functionality. So one common case is, let's just say I want to add a navigation, or let's say I just want to get some value from the server in terms of build, or something that I can get during build. So let's just say it's a documentation website, and I would wish to have the last build time displayed over here. So what I can do is I can go dot data dot whatever build time, or technically I can just have it as build time. So this variable doesn't really exist. So if you see over here, there's nothing really displayed because it doesn't exist. You could restart and do anything, but this value doesn't really exist, so nothing's shown over here. Now how do I get this value? Now there's two cases. One where I would want this value to exist just for this file. So in that case, I would write the functionality to just work for this file, but then there is a case where I want it for every single file that exists, and then I would write it for every file that exists. Now how do you do this? Is basically you define something called as hooks, and this folder is specially named. So if you type something as, I mean, if you define make a folder named as hooks, it's going to be considered the source for all the hooks. Now you don't have to use that. You can always go in and you can change the path for a lot of stuff. So you can change the path for hooks, you can change the path for the directory that you want the bundle to be. You can also change where it is supposed to search for pages. So pages and public is the two things that you cannot change right now. You can change where you get the hooks from. Other than that, you have got other options for basically the server that we have running. So you can change the port, you can change the duration for polling. Right now it's like 350 milliseconds, but you can change that over time. Anyways, getting back to the actual work. So now I just want a hook that defines this variable. So what I'm gonna do is just define add build time dot lua. So lua is what we're using over here, and for a very simple setup, all you require is the JSON utility. Now we will start with defining a hook that runs on all files. So it's just function writer file data, and you can read more about what comes in and what all is available on the documentation website. But for now, all you need to understand is that the writer hook is called for every file that can be processed. Now in terms of processing, the layout HTML is not processed, index.md is going to be processed, writing.postmd is going to get processed. So what we get over here is the file data is a JSON object that Alvu passes to this hook. So before we can actually do anything with it, we need to convert it into a readable table for Lua first. So we're just going to go source data equals to json.decode file data, and I'm not going to make this hook do anything right now. I'm just going to return the same data as it is with json.encode and source data. So overall what you're doing is you get a string data, a string set which is of the type JSON. Like it's a string, JSON encoded as a string. So for JavaScript developers, this would be the result of JSON stringify. For Go developers, this would be the marshaled result of JSON struct. So what you have over here after the decode is a Lua table, and what we have to return from the writer is the same string encoded value that you got to start with. So now there's a certain set of things that I can change over here. So to start with, let's just say I wanted to change the content to always be Hello Reaper, and I just save that, and let's say I run alvu serve on this and we run a quick refresh. You will see that it says Hello Reaper. Not just here, but if I go into writing / post, it says Hello Reaper there as well. Now basically you've replaced what content was available, and you can actually add and mark down here as well, and this should still work. So going back to the home page, so you have the ability to be able to edit every file's content as you wish to, but this is not what we want to do. We just want to define the build time variable. So now what we want to do is we want to go into source data and define a table value build time, which is just gonna be the current time. So I'm just gonna put down 11:59 for now and save that, and then we'll have to start Alvu again for this. And as you can see, 11:59 is now available as what we put over here. Now this runs for every file. So I'm just going to go into post, and this is not available right now, and we can just go into post and just copy the same variable mapper here, save this, and you now have the time value available over here as well. Now this is not the only way to do it. You could actually just replace the entire content or add it to the content. So technically, because you have access to add in data or source data or content, I can always just append values to it. So we could just append the date value. So in this case 11:59, and let's just comment this out, save, recompile everything, and I should still have this even if I do remove the variables. So this still exists. I can restart and you should still be able to see this. So we have the ability to actually change this, and You can obviously add in HTML if you wish to, but the point being you have full access to the actual content that's being rendered. So this is just before you actually convert markdown into HTML. So this is what that does. Now going back to what we were trying to do, now let's just say I want something that is only supposed to be available to index.md. So think of it similar to how you would do a controller and view setup, but except that the controller only runs during build time. Or for people who are watching this from the JS world, let's just say this is the get static props from the Next.js setup. So it only runs during build time. So the whole library, so Alvu as a tool never gives you anything dynamic in terms of what you can serve from the server. It's just built once and that's it. So technically you can just get into using some kind of a CMS and use Lua to build or fetch that content and save it into your desk directory as required. So you can continuously do stuff like this, but just to show what I mean by that is at any given point, if I only want, let's say, index.md to be getting the value, what I will define is I will just define the variable for file and we just define it as index.md. So at this point, if I continue to do this where we were just appending to the content and we build this again, what you will see is the post value no more gets the time, but the main page gets the time because I've defined that index.md is what gets the value that we're trying to add. Now I can obviously change this to be taking values for writing /post. So we change this to writing /post.md. And now instead of the base page getting that addition, the addition is actually done on the post page that we have defined. Now again, if we get rid of this and you run this, it is now available on both pages. Okay, so simple browser doesn't do URL shifting for some reason, so I'm just going to manually write it as post. And yeah, so this is now available both places. This is now available on second build just on the post, and it is no more available on the root page. So that's one part of the modification. Now there's also other hooks that you get. So you have a function on start hook which comes with basically the same file data, and you also have on finish hook which actually gets nothing. So it's like you're already done with everything. If you want to run some form of cleanup, you can basically run that. This is in terms of preparing for some kind of script. So a good example that I use this is the RSS feed building. So my personal website actually uses this in a similar manner. So if I was to go into create RSS file, so ignore everything, we just go on to the on start function hook and I just get rid of any template files that I might have built over the course. We'll get into why this file exists, but if there is an RSS template file, just get rid of it. And then we just have the writer function, same thing that we just discussed. You get the source data. Now what we're doing is we are creating a RSS file template in the append mode. So instead of writing the data from scratch, it keeps appending data to the file. So what we're doing next is this runs for every file. So if you see, there's no for file global function over here. So every writer file that exists, it's gonna run through it. Now all we are doing over here is just we're making sure that when I do get the source data, I check if the source path is pages/writing. So basically what I'm trying to do is I don't want every page or every markdown file to go through this process. I just want files that are coming from the pages/writing directory. Now post that, what we're trying to do is build up the post info. So for RSS, I need the actual content of the file, I need the title, I need the date, so on and so forth. So we pick up the meta, which is basically what is available in terms of whatever you define in the file. So if I go into writing and if I open up, let's say, one of the latest uh, posts, let's say change, uh, if you see, I have a title, date, and publish. So Alvu doesn't really care what you send over here. So it has nothing to do with what the data over here is. So this is something that's available to you as meta, and you can basically decide based on that as to what you wish to do. So once I have the meta, I'm just checking if it is a published post or if it's not a published post. So if it's not a published post, we do nothing. If it is a published post, we basically pick up the date from the meta. We get the time zone offset. It's required for the RSS date format, so that's basically what we're doing. You can ignore the weekday. Now after that, we basically construct the publishing date and we get the name without the extension. So what I'm trying to do is, let's say the file is writing slash whatever simple design tips for so and so forth .md. We just convert it to .html, and we're just defining the link to be repo.is and slash writing slash the HTML part. So that's that. Post that, we just define what the post info slug is, post info title is, post info links, whatever we've built up over here, we've put it on this table or object. So Lua calls it tables. So we've put it down in that table, and then we finally we keep writing it to the RSS file template that we've built. So over time, what happens is, if there is an RSS file over here, what happens is this constructs itself in the following manner. You get the base value first. I don't have an XML formatter. So you basically get the initial values like these. So this is built first, and cool, this is built first, and then after every single iteration that the writer function goes through, an item is added for you. So this would be the first post, then you have the second post, so on and so forth, and then finally we basically end up with closing the file for this writer, and then it gets opened up again in the append mode for the next page that's being put in. This continues for every single page, and then we're just returning back the source data. So if there's no edits made to the source data, it does nothing, and if you do make edits, well, they are transferred down to the files. Once we're done with the entire building, so now we are sure that all the files were read through. We just find where the temporary file is, which is the template file. We create a new file, this time in write mode, because we want it to be a fresh file. We do not want it to be appended to, we want it to start from an empty buffer. So post that, we basically just check if both the files exist. So Lua gives you a nil value if the file doesn't exist. So if these both exist, what you want to do is define the body value, which is just going through each and every line from the temporary template file and putting it in the body, and then writing it down. Before we write it down, we have a simple function over here, which is RSS template, which is just the base template. Now this template takes an item body and the overall value. So over here, the overview values are the site name, site link, and the site description, which you can see over here is repo, the link, and the description. So item body is basically the body that we get from the template file, and then we just write the template file and get rid of we write the original file and get rid of the template file. So overall, what you do is generate a template file, write the post items to the template file, wait for finishing, and then once it's finished, we pick or basically read the items from the template file and insert it in the final RSS file. So that's the basic flow. So this is something that now you don't have to copy this everywhere or technically write this everywhere. You can just take the repo.is repo and you have an RSS builder in place. the maximum value that you would change would be the path of where you're storing your articles. So if you're storing your articles in /articles or archives, whatever, so that's all you would change. Now this is basically a short demo as to what can and cannot be done, though there's a lot more that I do with my website. So there's the index building, which you would see in add writing index, and the actual writing /index file is just a loop going through the data value for writing pages, and you basically have every file that is a part of the writing folder given to you over here. So this is what constructs the /writing page. So this is constructed at build time for you, and I guess that's about it. There's not much to explain. If is there? I think that's about it. Yep. Have a great day.